What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the opinionated hippie. Gonna rank and review the albums of a band I'm pretty sure nobody saw coming, The Cars. OG, synth pop, new wave pop masters of really tightly wound, almost bare bones, skeletal, excellent synth driven new wave pop. 7 albums. I'm gonna rank them 7 to 1. I'll put the list on the screen when I'm done. The Zappa connection is weak, which is why I think nobody saw this band coming. If you read an interview with Sick and he's asked about his musical influences, he usually name drops Zappa, Beefheart, and Velvet Underground. Those seem to be the three musical sort of inspirations that he wants people to know about. Also, in a weird connection, Zappa did do a weird cover of Gary Numan's Cars. So there's Cars. There's a version of Cars in France with the lyrics from I think it's 1980. So there's a Cars connection there. But yeah, that's it. Let's get on with the ranking and on to number 7. My number 7 is their 6th album, Door to Door, released in 1987. This is the last one that would have bassist Benjamin Orr. He would pass away before they made their final album. He was also a fantastic singer. Songs such as Drive, Who's Gonna Drive You Home? But anyways, yeah. So this is the album in which the 80s catch up with him, in which their use of synthetic instruments, of drum machines, of synths, just in general, synthesizers, synthetic instruments, their synthetic sounds, synthesizers just catches up to them. There's a lot of, ooh, those drums, ooh, that sound. A lot of it kind of doesn't work. And it doesn't help that the songwriting, I think, is maybe the weakest of their 7 albums. It's not without its moments. The second song, You Are the Girl, this has that 87 loud production thing where everything seems to be mixed specifically for the radio. So there's not a lot of like bandwidth being occupied. It seems like everything's being compressed into loud. So anytime they simplify the sound, I think things kind of just pop out a little more. The second song, You Are the Girl, kind of has a laid back, tight, clean pop approach to it that kind of works. There's a song called Everything You Say, which has this kind of it's upbeat, but has this sort of bow, 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 like country riff. Kind of reminds me of Tom Petty at times, like late 70s, early 80s Tom Petty, a little bit of a bouncy vibe to it. Not a bad song. The rest of it, there's some clunky rock, there's some kind of nice pop songs, but none of it I think is really all that memorable. Other than the last song, which is kind of memorable for the wrong reasons. It almost sounds like they wanted to do a Motorhead type tribute. There's this really hyper aggressive, almost shall we say Motorhead vibe, oddly enough, that seeps in on the title track, which closes the album. But I think it's easily the least memorable, most forgettable album that they dropped. My 7th, their 6th, Door to Door. My number 6 is their number 7th, 2011's Move Like This. They made this without Benjamin Orr, which, considering there was 14 years between albums? No, 24 years between albums. I'm not really sure they needed to make a new album, and to do it without a guy who sang Drive, which, is a huge hit. I don't know. Thought it was weird. Not a bad album. I think it's much better than Door to Door. I think by this time their synth sound kind of just worked at this point. I think they moved past still synthesizer stuff, still drum machines. It still got that synth pop sound, but everything's just a little bit better. It's just better. Some of it still sounds like an 80s Cars song, but it's the Cars. Again, it's under 40 minutes. I think they're one of their great things is they just put out nice, brief, get-to-the-point albums filled with nice, brief, get-to-the-point pop songs, which is what's to like about this band. I like pop music. I like synth pop music. Keep on Knocking, third song on there. I don't want this to work. It just sounds a lot from the beginning, but there's so many moments that as the song goes on, remind me of early Cars and kind of just pull me in. And Elliot Easton's guitar playing on every album is just fantastic. Like you have all these like drum machines and synthesizers, and Okasik's very like non-warm vocals, for lack of a better word. And you have Elliot Easton just bringing this awesome guitar, the melody, the pop, the playing. He's always just providing the perfect sort of extra little element. Keep on Knocking is one of those. There's a song called Sad Song. Starts off with what almost sounds like a dun 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 dun, dun. Just almost sounds like a Best Friend's Girl vibe. The chorus reminds me of You're All I Got Tonight. So it doesn't hurt the song that it reminds me of early Cars. Kind of a good song. Song called Free, which just has a nice, lean, tight, clean, like tightly wound pop rock sound. The last two songs on the album, It's Only, has some nice melodic hooks throughout, this cool little like melody that opens it up. Hits Me, the closing song, is a really nice tight pop song with some really great Elliot Easton guitar energy. Mad props to Elliot Easton, always. But yeah, not a bad album, much better than Door to Door, but I definitely don't think it ranks as up there with where the next five fall as far as just really, if not being consistent, providing some absolutely awesome pop hits. But that's number 6, Move Like This. Rhymes kind of ish. Number 5 is 1984's Heartbeat City. This was their 5th album. It was huge. MTV huge, radio huge. I saw them. The only time I ever saw them live was on this tour. Was I think Pacific Amphitheater in Costa Mesa. I was kind of surprised at the set list. I thought there were some interesting deep cuts and stuff, and it wasn't a bad song. Wasn't a bad show. Just a lot of really good, catchy synth pop songs on here. The opening, Hello Again, which just is very, very production, like Hello Again. You know, they're playing with the production. It's just getting darker and lighter. Some weird stuff's happening on here. Very much playing with like the hello, playing with like production things with the vocals, but kind of a fun 80s infused synth sound. Sounds like the 80s, but I don't think it hurts on this album. Magic is on here. Absolutely awesome pop song. Drive, great little ballad. You Might Think, which is just a fun, catchy little thing. Some really good songs throughout here. It's not all winners. I think the second song, Looking for Love, doesn't kind of hurts the momentum of the album, and I think the sequencing could have been a little better, but it is a predictable big song, slow song, big song, slow song, something weird to end the album side, which is kind of typical of a lot of 80s albums. A lot of just great synth pop. And then the closing song on here, Heartbeat City, is really kind of a neat, weird, driving, kind of moody type song about someone named Jackie, who spells her name with an I at the end. No E-I-E, no Y, just Jackie. But like low-key, moody, just kind of really works. And I think Okasik really leans a lot in his vocals in the sort of hiccupy sound that he does, which I think is really endearing. Yeah, good album. Maybe a little too slow at times. Like It's Not the Night kind of has a slower, synthy, spacier vibe, but it's not as ominous as a song about it not being the night, or maybe that's why it's not ominous. But if you reference night in a song, it needs to be a little darker. But that's kind of a nice, slow growing guitar pop thing that kind of slowly builds. Side A, I think, is better than side B. A lot of their albums, I think, get weaker as the album goes on, except for their first one. But yeah, I think it's a pretty solid 80s synth pop album. Yeah, all right. That's my number 5, Heartbeat City. My number 4 is 1980's Panorama, which is their third album. This is always called like the darker of the albums, and I guess it does kind of start off on what feels like a darker note. One of the highlights of the album, the title track Panorama, just has this kind of dark, driving, relentless, just sort of like beat, this sort of just like not too aggressive, but at the same time just with like Easton's guitar just like the entire time just kind of pushing it forward, little licks and bursts that come out throughout the song. It's like 5.5 minutes, just not a hit single type thing, just kind of this slow burning thing that opens the album on a really strong note. Second song is Touch and Go, which This was on the greatest hits, their original greatest hits, which was the first, pretty sure that was the first Cars album I bought, which I believe was dropped before Heartbeat City came out. I don't think you can find it anymore because they've added other songs on there. But I never really got into it on that. There were parts that I really liked, but it wasn't until I heard it in context as the second song on the album that it just works perfectly. The intro's a little too low key, and it wasn't, I think, sequenced the right way on the Greatest Hits album. I don't know what it came after, but following Panorama, it works perfectly. And it's kind of a little low key thing, and then we drop into this almost like light skipping little lick that comes in there that's just Elliot Easton at his best. Really tasty solo. It's just got this really awesome, I don't want to say it's twangy, but like this almost slightly countryish guitar drop. Works fantastic on the album. But a great 1-2 punch to open up. The following, Give Me Some Slack, has this like almost like whip it cymbal opening, like really fast beat, nice kind of like tight rock riff that drives the song. Don't Tell Me No, kind of a mid-tempo chill vibe, but has a really nice like slower riff that kind of drives it. Easton, fantastic. And then the closing, Getting Through, almost sounds like a really like Oingo Boingo type song, just kind of a jerky, bouncy song with these really very sci-fi synthy sounds that kind of come in, like almost like sound effects. Really 2.5 minutes of really short, frantic, kind of crazy energy. And I think side A is fantastic. Side B kind of drops off. Misfit Kid is a little bit darker. We get an upbeat rocker with Down Boys. You Wear Those Eyes kind of has some slow ballady moody things, though there's some really nice squirmy, the guitar solo in here is kind of weird and squirmy and kind of cool. Running to You has some bad drums. 80 drums are already starting to appear in not a good way. And then the closing, Up and Down, has some more dating drums, but the guitar is kind of good. Nice keyboard guitar riff to kind of open it up. Pretty solid album, but I think the first 5 songs, side A, much stronger than side B. And the first 2 tracks, just phenomenal way to open an album. But yeah, my number 4, Panorama. My number 3 is their fourth, 1981's Shake It Up. This is one of the first albums I ever bought. I believe my sister and I, it came out at the end of 81. I think we used Christmas money and we split this. Probably paid like $3 each. Bought it on cassette. I still own the cassette, though I have a way to play it, but I don't trust my cassette deck anymore. It ate a tape once. But another instance where I think the first half just is a home run and then it kind of drops off in the second half. Since You're Gone, one of the greatest opening tracks, like and then Elliot Easton comes in with that and then they do that drop. What a great song. Since You're Gone, start to finish, maybe their best opener. Shake It Up, still love that song. It's fun, it's catchy, it's groovy. Great guitar solo by Easton. I'm Not the One, awesome, great ballad. Fantastic ballad. Sad, lonely. I'm Not the One. You feel it in Ocasek's vocals. It pains you. Victim of Love, bouncy, kind of quirky Rick Ocasek type pop. Side A closes out with Cruiser, an Or song. Elliot Easton's guitar just kind of keeps the thing moving. Fantastic side A. Side B, we get a little bit of a drop. Some bad drums seep in on the opening, A Dream Away. But the course of this is Take It on the Run. He keeps saying, take it on the run. And it reminds me of Ween's Tastes Good on the Bun. And I want to think that Ween was familiar with this song, A Dream Away. And there, It Tastes Good on the Bun. Tastes Good on the Bun is derived from this song. I'm going to give the Cars credit for being responsible for Ween's Tastes Good on the Bun. Go check out Tastes Good on the Bun. This Could Be Love, kind of slow burning. Psych pop, kind of has a Dangerous type vibe that is pretty good. Probably the strongest song on the second side. More bad drum sounds on Think It Over, unfortunately. Kind of a quirky new wave song. And then the last, Maybe Baby. Really nice sort of like rolling, more of a rolling drum, like an actual like, not a drum machine, but this more like organic drum sound. Kind of a different vibe. Ends the album nicely. Side A stronger. Side B is not bad. Has some drum issues. Couple interesting tracks. Yeah, listened to this song a whole bunch back in like 81, 80, 82 mostly because we bought it after Christmas. So just because, you buy a tape, you're going to listen to it forever because it's going to be probably a while before you buy another tape. I don't know why it keeps going like different colors in here. Got to keep doing this, I guess, apparently. All right. Sorry if it's too dark, people. But that's my number 3. Shake It Up. Number 2 is their second, 1979's Candy O. Fantastic album, but not every song is a hit single, so how can it be number 1? Opens up with Let's Go, which might be one of their best songs. I mean, it's up there with any of the stuff on that awesome debut. Just an absolutely fantastic song. It almost feels like the way you get like this weird like splash and then drop in the beginning. It's like dun dun. It's almost like, hey, we're back. We made that album. Now we're back. It just has this very like, I don't know, ushering us in back to the Cars experience in the best way. I like the nightlife, baby. Just absolutely fantastic. It's a weird lyric in the vibe of the Cars. I don't know why. Since I Held You is fine. It's a great song. It's All I Can Do. Just this kind of moody, low-key, poppy, yet utterly compelling. Double Life, moody and kind of mysterious vibe. EASTON, of course, dropping the sweet solos in there. Very synthy and poppy, but that's what the Cars do. Shooby-Doo, despite being called Shooby-Doo, is like a minute and a half of just kind of weird art experimental synth pop that somehow kind of works. It's almost like if MGMT was going to drop like a really weird synth pop song, this might be like an inspiration for some MGMT. And then we get Candy-O. I wrote, it has a European synth new wave pop sound. Almost sounds like they've been listening to what's coming out from overseas. Another great Easton guitar solo, just a flurry of a solo in here. Night Spots, amazing bass action on this. Opens up side 2, absolutely fantastic. The bass just keeps driving as the music kind of builds and it swirls and it intensifies. Like the song, what you think is going to happen in the first like 30 seconds of the song just continues to evolve, and like by the end of it, it's completely defied your expectations on what this song's going to deliver. It's kind of just weird in a really great way. Kind of segue. I think this segues right into the next song, which is You Can't Hold On For Too Long. Really short guitar riff before we get this big drop and what kind of feels like a Bowie-esque art rock song, like something maybe Bowie would have dropped in like the Scary Monsters era. Just that kind of neat, kind of random, lots of changes art rock. Works really well. Lust for Kicks, kind of cheesy. The synth stuff maybe doesn't work off. Has a Joe Jackson early type vibe lyrically. And just about, that kind of relationship type vibe. Got a lot in my head, upbeat on my head, upbeat drive-in, guitar's really up there kind of driving the song. And then the album closes with Dangerous Type. Your almost closest thing you get to a T-Rex song with the Cars. That Ocasek dark energy that's in there. Great guitar solo. Synth it's just such a well-written, well-constructed, well-composed song to end the album. Dangerous Type. Home run. Fantastic. But yeah, number 2. Really strong album. But they're going against their debut album, which is going to be my number 1, which it's essentially a greatest hits album to start off their career. On to number 1. And number 1 is their debut, 1978's The Cars. I mean, if you listen to the radio at all in the late 70s or early 80s, you know almost all the songs on here. Good Times Roll, that opens it up. Followed by My Best Friend's Girl. Followed by Just What I Needed. 3 of the biggest songs of the late 70s on almost every LA radio station that I ever heard. Those all open side A. Side B is You're All I've Got Tonight. It's Bye Bye Love. It's Moving in Stereo. It's All Mixed Up. Side B, 4 perfect songs. 2 songs on here I don't think I've ever heard on the radio. Close out side A. I'm in Touch with Your World. Weirder, slower, has more of a talking type vibe. Kind of art rocky, but it's funky, low key, kind of playful. Of course, EASTON comes in at one point and just has this awesome actually solo that just kind of snakes its way through. Don't Just Stop, more of a driving, new way, kind of frantic kind of rocker, great guitar energy. Times feels like sort of an electronic version of Dire Straits. Weirdness in the chorus. EASTON solo is fantastic. Those are the ones that didn't make the radio. But you got Good Times Roll, My Best Friend's Girl, just what I needed to open up. I mean, just... And ELLIOT's playing, the solos EASTON's playing, the synths are so clean and tight, the vocal performances are just ridiculous from Ocasek and Orr. Like everything about these, the synths sound warm and comforting and like you want to wrap yourself around them. Like, what an amazing start to an album. And then you got side 2, You're All I've Got Tonight. That guitar energy, the synth-driven stuff, the EASTON solo. You're All I've Got Tonight is probably the closest thing this band ever came to like a true like bluesy rocker. Then we get Bye Bye Love. The drop into this song after the previous song is just perfect. It's classic. It's urgent. It's incredibly well-crafted pop. One of my favorite lines the Cars ever dropped. Substitution, mass confusion, clouds inside your head. Second time they dropped that. Or just delivers one of the best vocal deliveries the Cars ever had. And then we get Moving in Stereo. And like I'm going to play into every single cliche about this song, about men my age. This came out, I was 12 when Fast Times in Ridgemont High came out. I was 12 when I saw Fast Times in Ridgemont High. And I cannot hear this song without thinking of Phoebe Cates in a red bikini coming out of that swimming pool. And I hate to be that person, but in my life, there were very few songs, maybe no songs, as so incredibly intertwined with a movie experience as Moving in Stereo is with Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I'm probably not the only person. I know I've read that in many reviews and seen that in many videos. And I hate to play into that cliche, but it's real, people. Like, I was 12. I mean, yeah. And then you get it on video afterwards. And like, I mean, I'm sorry. It's true. That's why this song is an instant classic. And then it closes with All Mixed Up, which is another just perfectly crafted pop song. You're all mixed up. Just, it's a perfect album, right? Maybe you could argue 4 and 5 on here are not perfect songs and they let it down, but you need a breather. Not everybody really can be perfect. But yeah, easily my number one. Easily. Their debut, my number one. And that is what those albums look like in typewritten form. Heartbeat City's 5 at 5 is, I think, the most inconsistent of them, but I still think there's really good 80s pop on there. And so really those top 5, I think, are listenable if you like synth pop. If you're going for just really simple or aural, A-U-R-A-L, pleasures, this band knew what they were doing. And when they keep the production clean and tight and they kind of let EASTON just kind of work his way through that mix wherever he wants to, they drop some pretty perfect stuff. But yeah, those top 2 albums, they're 1 and 2 really are just some of the best synth pop ever. Really good representation of American New Wave. What we were doing over here on this side of the ocean, right, coming out of Boston, right? All right, but yeah, that's what they look like. Let me know your thoughts on this band. If you have thoughts in this band, if you haven't checked out the debut in a while, you've probably heard those songs hundreds, if not thousands of times. They still work, man. They still work. And again, Elliot Easton. His guitar playing. Cannot say that man's name enough. All right, I'm rambling. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Thanks for watching. Go listen to the Cars. Peace. Talk to you later.